To get to you tonight, this time in the Missouri Attorney General's push to out St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner from office. Just minutes ago, the judge said that there is enough evidence to move the case against Gardner forward. He moved forward 7 of the 10 counts brought against her. Gardner is accused of willfully neglecting her office. News 4 Investigates is also tracking what's being called a crisis in the Circuit Attorney's office. New information reveals 10 attorneys have left the office in the last 7 months. That is a quarter of their attorneys, and they haven't been replaced. Many were top prosecutors handling murders and assaults. And as the concern grows about the shrinking number of prosecutors in the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's office, some are suggesting drastic measures to keep that office running. Chief